Hi, Marna.
Hi,
It's very
Laura.
good to see you, and we are happy you have some time to talk with us.
Thank you.
As you know, we are doing this short podcast in which we try to talk with people about what are the good things happening in our lives when we
Mhm,
have a framework helping us, like Istanbul Convention is. And so we try to find more information about different countries. And we know that you are doing a lot in Ireland. So we were
yeah.
wondering if you can share with us some more of your good things happening in Ireland since you have ratified the Istanbul Convention. Because
Mhm,
maybe you have seen in the news that there are some countries who are started to, rethink their
mhm,
position and not thinking to protection as much as in the past. So it's very
mhm,
important for us to show them all the good things which we
mhm,
have used in the past years since we have
mhm,
ratified convention in our countries.
mhm, mhm.
So please feel free to share with us
Okay.
anything you might think it's important for you and for the women around you.
Okay. Thank you, Laura. And thanks very much for the opportunity to talk to you. Um, It's been really busy. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's been incredibly busy actually here. There's been an enormous amount of change. Not just since we ratified the Istanbul Convention, but there was a period between the Istanbul Convention actually happening and our ratification of it. And in that period, there was an awful lot of work done around making our legislation far more robust than it had been. Um, and actually, that I think is one of the most helpful developments in Ireland as a result of it is as a result of the ratification of the Istanbul Convention. We were just doing a little bit of preparatory work. Um,
Okay.
and so this was kind of us doing a checklist, as I see it, before the ratification actually happened. So the legislative changes that happened here happened on foot of the Istanbul Convention, and us seeing that this was something that was coming, and we had to do our preparations. Um, there was a whole raft of changes brought in to law here in Ireland, ones that were really, really badly needed. So things such as forced marriage was made an offence. We now have a definition of consent established and in law. That was incredibly important. And then things like women now have a right to information regarding their case and how it's being handled in the justice system. Um, the Irish state is able to prosecute for violent crimes that are committed abroad. So prior to this, if an Irish citizen committed a crime abroad, let's say Spain or wherever, they couldn't be prosecuted in Ireland when they returned. Now they can. So that's a very big deal for women and children. But I think the one that has been most impactful is the introduction of a specific criminal offence for coercive control. That has been the
Wow, that's
single,
so
yeah,
important. Yeah.
that is the single most, it's probably been our greatest success in Ireland, I think. Um, for women and children, it explicitly criminalizes the pattern of psychological, emotional, and financial abuse that we all know forms, it very often forms the core of domestic violence. And it really clearly shows that it's not just isolated physical acts that the judiciary and the guards and the enforcers of the law need to be attending to, but also that we really need to pay attention to coercive control, to the subtlety of it, and the insidious nature. So that's our greatest success, I think. Um, and it's really kind of rooting law in the reality of domestic abuse, um, and as a pattern of control and not just a series of assaults. So it really, I think women and children here would say that it's really validated their experiences and they feel that they're heard, that everything that they've been saying for decades, that they've been heard, they're understood.
Yeah, but something we are always telling that the voice of the victims, of the voice of survivors are not heard. And it's so
Mm,
important to see that all their experiences and everything which we didn't find in the current legislation can be finally used in such a good way. I think there are not so many countries who have this legislation on
mm,
coercive control and a
mm,
clear definition on it. And I think that's one of the reasons many failures are happening in different countries because
mhm,
they are small pieces of legislation
mhm,
targeting violence
mhm,
on women and girls, but they are never connected. And also, they are seen isolated pieces of
mhm,
emotional abuse disconnected
mhm,
from the perpetuity, the fact that they are repeated, and the fact that it
mhm.
was physical abuse once and then it has continued with emotional abuse and threats and many other manipulation and stuff. And so
Yeah.
that's so important. And on last piece of question for you, we would like very much your advice to the countries who have signed long time ago but didn't ratify yet the convention, and
Mhm,
also the countries who are now starting to listen to a lot of fake news and information
mhm,
around the Istanbul Convention. What would the the advice for them would be, looking to your own experience in Ireland?
mhm. I think you made a great point around kind of the disconnection and the lack of joining up the dots legislatively, and how we're needing to pull kind of from various different pieces that aren't, tailor-made to the experience that women are telling us that they have. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things I would say is since the Istanbul Convention was ratified, that the landscape in Ireland has really changed around that. We really struggled for years as NGOs working in the area with how disconnected services were, how there was a real silo thinking. Everything, if you yeah, there was a total lack of joining up the dots. There was a total lack of coordination. And since the Istanbul Convention has been ratified, really Ireland has institutionalized a whole of government approach that's really, really clear. We have a third national strategy that sets out the rules around the creation of a new agency, which we now have since last January. We have a dedicated agency located in the Department of Justice that's tasked with joining up those departments, joining up the Department of Housing, Education, Finance ministries, creating a dedicated high-level coordinating body like that has ensured that the resources and the policies are all integrated. That connection is crucial, Laura. Collaboration is the only way that we're going to be able to tackle this. And for people who are reluctant, or for countries that are not just reluctant, but that are actually withdrawing, um, I find that terrifying. I like the change that the Istanbul Convention has, the changes and the difference it's made in Ireland. Like just really, really practically speaking, for the women and children that we work with is immense. Their access to services, um, but also not just for them, for statutory bodies too. Like we see how the guards, the local police force here in Ireland, they would say that their work has not been cut in half, but certainly that it's made easier because the collaboration has filtered down from the government departments into communities. So we work much more closely with the guards because we're required to, and they're required to with us. But it
Yes.
it just really has worked incredibly well in terms of time efficiencies. Um, so yeah, it, please don't withdraw. Please don't disregard
Yes,
this.
we will
Please
pass
don't.
on
Yeah. Yeah.
your message. Yeah, that's the reason we have this short podcast, because we
Yeah.
want to have that short messages sent around, and
Yeah.
maybe people seeing what was happening in the last years in all the countries who are
Yeah,
using as a tool the Istanbul Convention, that
yeah.
will change a little bit the way we are looking to the to this framework and
And I think,
support. Yeah.
and I think, Laura, as well, for NGOs, please, if there's workers in NGOs listening to this, um, realize your own power. And not look at Ireland ratified the Istanbul Convention for lots of different reasons, but the lobbying from the NGO sector in Ireland was enormous. And, it happened partly because of some of that petitioning and lobbying and campaigning. In large part, actually, it was down to that, I would say. Also, there was an appetite, in Ireland generally and politically for the convention to be signed and ratified. But don't underestimate the power that you have in using your voice to represent the women and the children that you're working with. Yeah, don't underestimate how powerful you can be.
Thank you, Marna. Thank you very much.